Let's get started. So, hello everyone. My name is Chrishon Lampley. I am the owner of Love Cork Screw. Yes, three separate words like that. Love Cork Screw. I am in the industry classified as a negociant. What the heck is a negociant? Negociant. Well, French term. So if you look up the actual definition, just literally Google it. It says a person that buys grapes and resells them, right? That's just the cut and dry, right? The black and white of it. But I'll take it a little step deeper here. I am a winemaker. Now, no, I do not make wine in my bathtub. No, no, no. I actually source from different vineyards. So what does that mean? They actually house the tanks that have my juice. So these are all mine. So from the very beginning, we're talking from harvest all the way to it ends up in the bottle. That is all my creation. I take part in every little piece, except for actually picking the grapes. So I am definitely involved throughout the whole entire process. So Love Corkscrew. Love Corkscrew has been around since 2013. I can't believe it. I'm literally going on 8 years soon. Wow. 8 years being in business, over 300,000 bottles sold. Started in 2013 and just skyrocketed here in Chicago, Illinois, to large big box stores. I'm in the likes of Mariano's, Target, Cost Plus World Market, Jewel, Osco, Benny, Whole Foods. I'm in several big box stores here in Illinois, and I ship nationwide. So those of you outside of the Illinois area, oh, let me not forget, I also just got a distribution deal in Ohio. So if you are in Ohio, you can find Love Corkscrew. Very excited about that. But outside of Chicago, Illinois, or Illinois and Ohio, you can find Love Corkscrew by going to lovecorkscrew.com and purchasing it. So yes, I can ship. So I'm gonna walk through a few things. I believe there's some people online that want to learn about the industry and how to get into it. But I'm going to start with my history and then we'll work our way through. And again, you guys can ask so many questions, as much as time we have, by all means, ask away. So a little bit of history about Love Corkscrew. So again, I told you I started in 2013, but I've been in the industry between sales and marketing and wine and spirits for 25 years. Yes, 25 years. I know I look kind of young here, right? No, 25 years I've been in this industry. So I started off in sales and marketing, came out with actually a degree in fashion merchandising. What does that have to do with anything, right? So I worked on Michigan Avenue, which is big in Chicago, the Magnificent Mile. I worked there for years in high-end retail. And I really got a knack for sales and marketing. Kind of been always that theatrical kid. I was in theater growing up. I was in musicals, played the piano. I've always been about people and talking and experiencing new and fun things. So fast forward from sales and marketing and being exposed to so much at a young age. I lived in New York. I lived in Las Vegas, came back to Chicago. And I decided that I was going to get into owning an art gallery and bar. So I owned it here in Chicago. It was the hottest thing to hit Chicago. We called it 3Ps Art Lounge, that stood for painting, pottery, and photography. Seriously, one of the hottest, coolest things here in Chicago. You guys can look it up and still see press about it. We were in the Tribune on the front cover of the entertainment section. It was unbelievable. So we actually closed due to a bad flood. A flood? Yeah. Condo owners above us, mind you, we're in a storefront, flushed non-biodegradable baby wipes down the toilet. Yeah, baby wipes. So we lost everything. Our dram shop insurance, which was $2 million worth of insurance, baby wipes were not covered. So we literally lost everything. Well, let me backtrack. 2009, we had won Chicago's best with the best wine list. I wrote that wine list. So let me fast forward. I also worked in sales and distribution for one of the largest distributors in the country. Well, there I had a lot of experience in on-premise, whether it be golf courses, restaurants, nightclubs, bars, and I was the big bad person coming in selling them all the big spirits they needed, right? Crown, Smirnoff, Kettle One. Well, I would also sell them some crappy wine. Yeah, crappy wine, because I wasn't in the wine division. I was in the spirits division. So they would always tell me the same thing, just like my customers did when I owned the art gallery, that they wanted to support local boutique wines, something that you could not get in every single store. They wanted to support small batch wine. So I heard that nonstop, right? So I decided I'm going to take my distribution side in sales. I'm going to take owning an art gallery and bar side in meeting clients and my 25 years of sales marketing. And I'm going to create my own. Now, a lot of people laughed at me. They're like, yeah, right. How are you going to do that? You don't own a vineyard. How do you do that? Well, I decided to take my connections that I had over these 25 years, and I decided to actually go to these vineyards and wineries and say, hey, I'm an expert in wine. I can figure it out. Give me a shot. Well, the awesome thing is, to date, I've outsold all three vineyards ×3 in their own product. So now that's the fun, quick story of it. But of course, there's a lot more to it, right? There's a lot of legalities to it. There's a lot of money involved in it. Being licensed, I'm federally licensed. So I am an exporter importer, meaning I can get wine from across the entire world if I want to. And that license is not easy to possess. So there's that. And there's the connections with these vineyards and wineries that I have. No, you can't just walk into one and say, I want my own wine. You might be able to do that if you want to put your label on it for your wedding or engagement or party, but this is a lot different than that, a lot different, and it takes years. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my wines. I'm going to talk about the varietals, and then we're going to go into some wine tips. Then we're going to talk about how you too can get in this industry, all right? So first I want to go down the line here with Love Corkscrew products. So you see 7, right? 7 products here. So a good friend of mine, he calls me the Snapple of wine. A lot of times the private labels only have 2. So when someone says, well, why don't you have a Chenin Blanc, or why don't you have a Malbec? Hey, I got 7 here, okay? So I'm doing the best I can. And I do believe that each varietal is going to hit a sector of something that everyone would enjoy. All right, fair enough? All right, I remember seeing some people from Michigan on here, so you're gonna like this. So I sourced 4 out of 7 of my wines from Michigan. Yes, Michigan. And you think, how? How is that possible? We get most of our wines from California or New Zealand. Yeah. But this is the thing that a lot of people don't know. Number one, there's over 54 wineries in the state of Illinois alone. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. Michigan has a beautiful piece of land between here and there. Let me tell you what that is. Sits between the Kalamazoo and Lake Michigan. There's a beautiful piece of land, and they call it the lake effect, right? Where it doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. And it's an actually beautiful place to grow grapes. Beautiful land. There's some amazing wines that are, grapes that are grown in that area to make some wonderful wines. And they're not all sweet. I promise you they're not. And there's some amazing, I call them the millionaire farmers. There's some amazing people growing great things in that area. And I decided I wanted to support local, meaning local to the Midwest. They don't get a good rap. They don't get the attention and the awards that they really, truly deserve. And they're absolutely amazing, and they've been amazing to Love Corkscrew. So I'm going to start off with actually 2 awesome ones that I sourced from Michigan. So first being my little, and I didn't even put this in a specific order, which is so awesome, that I would start with my number 1. So my number 1 is my Riesling. My Riesling is called Head Over Heels. Yes, Head Over Heels. And you may be looking like, hey, Chrishon, why is it in this dark bottle? Well, the funny thing is, a lot of people give Riesling a bad rap because it's so mass produced. There's a lot of Riesling out there, right? Because actually it's one of the number 1 varietals in the entire world. So there's a lot of Rieslings out there, and a lot of people, and they vary, right? They vary from extremely dry to extremely sweet. So yes, it comes from the Rhino region, Germany, and I decided I wanted to do a semi-sweet Riesling. So this one has a top note of grapefruit, followed with a little lemon zest. And I decided to hide how ugly Riesling is, and I put it in this awesome, most romantic bottle that I think is absolutely awesome. So I called it Head Over Heels. Not only is this the number 1 seller in the country for Love Corkscrew, but it is a great gift during Valentine's Day. Yep, guys buy Head Over Heels left and right. So again, I sourced that one from Michigan. Another Michigan one would be my Pinot Grigio. A lot of people are either like, I hate Pinot Grigio or I love Pinot Grigio. Well, the great thing about Love Corkscrew is I get the people who say, I normally hate Pinot Grigio, but I love yours. Well, mine I decided to make sure wasn't too over acidic. Has a nice top note of pear followed with a little bit of apple. It's crisp, it's delicious. And I think Pinot Grigio is a great varietal to bring to friends. So that's why I called it Good Times, Good Friends. And I'm going to talk a little about the labels as well. My two sweet ones, you sweet lovers, you Cooper Hawks fan, all those people that love sweet, 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 I got you covered. I got you covered. That would be Hard Knock Life, which is my Concord. Yes, Concord. The Concord grape. It's used to make jam, right? Jelly jam. I remember some wine experts, if you will, came to me one time and said, Chrishon, how in the world are you going to make a wine with Concord grapes? That doesn't even sound right. Well, funny thing, I said, watch me. So I never forget, I saw and visited one of the top sommeliers in the entire country from Let Us Entertain You, Richard, and he was tasting all my wines. Wines are getting spit everywhere. It was awesome, right? And he stops at my Concord and he says, Chrishon, if you hit the market with this, you're going to kill it. After that, nobody could tell me a thing. And Concord has such a cult following like no other. It's unreal. So imagine you walk into the grocery store and you pick up your purple grape with the seeds in it. That's exactly what it tastes like. So it's really deliciously sweet for sweet lovers. I also have the cousin here, Niagara. There's a Concord grape, Niagara grape, right? They're cousins. So think of your green grape. That is the Niagara grape. So I had to do a white version for folks that like the Moscatos of the world or the white sweet blends. You will love Touch the Sky. Touch the Sky actually got #2 in Forbes magazine. Yes, #2 in Forbes magazine for one of the best Black women-owned wines in the country. So I was beyond honored to receive recognition from Forbes magazine. So then we have In Too Deep. This is where we get really fun, right? In Too Deep has a little bit of effervescence. What the heck am I talking about? Well, I did not want to do a champagne because people are like, why do you get a champagne done? Why didn't you do a champagne? I'm like, well, I'm not going to Champagne to get a champagne made. It would be like $100 a bottle at least if I did a small batch, right? So I wanted to keep it at a nice price point. And I'm not honestly a fan of something that's really, really sparkling, but I understand a little bit of effervescence, so a little bit of fizz, right? So that's how In Too Deep, it even has bubbles on the label. That's how In Too Deep was formed, and it is my #1 seller online. That one I've had exclusive for a long time, but one of the big competitors, one of the big box stores just took it in. I haven't launched it officially yet, but it will be hitting large retail stores soon. It seems like every time I want something to stay exclusive, somebody wants to buy it, but yeah, problems, right? So I'm very excited about In Too Deep. We go high. Yes, when they go low, we go high. Yep, got that from Michelle Obama. So funny, you're like, how in the world is this a rosé, Chrishon? How's this a rosé? Real simple. So a lot of people don't know that rosés hit all colors of the spectrum, right? You can go from an onion orange, a really, really light color, all the way to a deep purple color, right? It's all in the fermentation process. It's how long the skins are left to make it a certain color. So skins from rosé can be left from 2 hours to 20 hours. That's going to change the color. I also did not want to do a sparkling rosé, and I wanted to do a rosé that was semi-dry, but still has that juiciness. So the awesome thing I always hear about my rosé is it doesn't taste like every rosé. Because a lot of times rosés can fool you a little bit, no? When you smell the rosé in the nose, it smells like you're going to drink something that's more fruity or citrusy. And then when you taste it, it's like watery, right? That's my opinion. So I wanted to make sure that I did a rosé that was more fruit forward and juicy, thus We Go High was born. Lastly, the only varietal that I source out of California. Otherwise, you see everything else is local to the Midwest. I do my Cabernet Sauvignon out of California. Yes, we're moving on up from the Jeffersons. Yep, we're moving on up. That is my cab. I've sold out of the vintage over 10 times. I made this for the faux cab lover. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times the really dark, juicy Cabernet Sauvignon, a lot of people really don't like when they really taste the real deep, dark, gritty ones. Now, I'm one, I like to cut my wine with a knife. I like it dark, dry, dry as possible, right? But I knew that wasn't everyone's palate and I wanted to do something universal. So I decided to do a Cabernet Sauvignon that soaks in oak for a year, but it still has that fruit forwardness and lightness like a Pinot Noir. So this Cabernet is great. For those of you who truly are huge Cabernet lovers, you will respect this Cabernet Sauvignon. For those of you that like more of the Pinot Noirs and Malbecs, you will love this Cabernet Sauvignon. So again, that used to be a 2008. It's now a 2018. So I'm very excited about that. Now, a couple of things about the wine industry, and then I'll tell you guys, give you guys some tips on how to break into the industry. The number one reason why people buy wine, number one, is the labels. Number one. So I'm talking about when you're in a store, right? Number one is the label. Number two is the price. Number three is the taste. People will go back to one and two and not even really like how it tastes because it's easy, right? The wine aisle can get so confusing. I've even done tastings where I remember asking a gentleman, what wine do you like? Do you like red or white? He's like, oh, I normally like white. I said, sweet or dry? He's like, more of the sweeter ends. I said, well, name some of your favorite varietals. He says Merlot. How's that possible? That's okay, because you know what? I solved that problem. You may not remember the varietal exactly that you like, and that's fine. With Love Corkscrew, you will remember the title of the label. You may not remember it was Niagara, but you're going to remember Touch the Sky. You may not remember that it was the Riesling because it's in this dark bottle and you're not quite sure, but you're going to remember it's head over heels. So that's why I came up with the labels that I did. Target fell in love with it. That's why they took it right away. And people have been in love with Love Corkscrew for years. So that's just giving you a little tip on what I decided to do within the wine industry and my expertise. So a couple of wine tips, and then I'll get into how to. Wine tips. The number one wine tip I'm going to give, and if you guys have looked at my social media, I just posted this. I had some people call me and say, or inbox me, if you will, and say, hey, just bought some of your wine, but I opened it and it's spoiled. I'm like, spoiled? How's it spoiled? So I did a little more research. So this is what's happening. I don't know why, but if you listen to anything I say, listen to this. Never leave your wine in the car. I'll repeat, never leave your wine in the car. When it's too hot, understand when it goes over 70, your wine flavor profile will start changing. When you go over 80 degrees, and we know we've talked about this, right? We know it gets hot in cars. We've talked about this, whether it be animal commercials and things. It gets too hot in cars, right? When it goes over 80 degrees, the wine will actually start cooking. Yes, the wine will start cooking. It will also change the seal, right? The seal, so many things. The cork starts to shrink. If it's too cold, the cork actually expands and the bottle can actually break, right? So do not leave your wine in the car because not only will it change the flavor profile, your wine will cook. And yes, when you open that bottle, it will smell really weird. It may smell like vinegar. It may smell really potent and weird. It's going to be this offensive smell. You're like, what the heck is that, right? And then you're going to taste it and it's going to taste sour. So don't leave your wine in the car or any hot locations, or definitely not any super cold situations where your bottle will burst. All right. And lastly, wine tip, because I know I'm probably running out of time because I want you guys to get in some questions. Wine tips on entertaining with wine. A lot of people ask me how to pair wine and entertainment. Number one about entertainment. I know we're going to start doing a lot more things from homes with a small, intimate group. Always keep wine in your house that you don't drink. What do I mean by that? If you are a sweet lover, keep dry in your house. If you are a dry lover, keep sweet in your house. Your guests don't always like exactly what you're drinking, all right? So please remember that. A lot of times they may not say anything, and in their mind they're like, oh God, this wine is not what I like. But they're just being nice to you because they're your friends. But always keep a different array, different varietals of wine that you may not drink, and trust that you will make sure your guests are happy, all right? That's number one. Number two, how to pair. Real simple. Real simple. Then I'll open it up. Real simple. When you pair wine, think of it as the ingredient. Give an example. If I go to a steakhouse, right? And I say I always like my steak walking, right? I like it medium rare, if not rare. So got my steak, got my porterhouse. I got a cup of sugar. I took a spoon and poured the sugar on top and I ate it. Does that sound good? No. That's like drinking sweet wine with a steak. What in the world would you do that for? But think about it. How do you marinate your steak? Maybe a little pepper, maybe a little balsamic vinegar, something peppery, fruit forward, bitter, dry. Oh, Chianti. Oh, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Bordeaux. Think about fish. What do you marinate fish in? Butters, maybe cilantro, olive oil. Let me think. Oh, buttery. A little oaky, maybe a little, Chardonnay. See how simple that was? So it's literally looking at the back of the bottle, because the back of the bottle will tell you all the information you need outside of the alcohol content. You don't need to stare at the alcohol content. And yes, red will normally have more alcohol, but really you need to be looking at the flavor profile if you're thinking about pairing. And lastly, about getting into the wine industry. This is a very difficult industry to get in, I won't even lie. But when I get a lot of people that I mentor and I talk to about it, I always say, start off with learning about wine. Just because you like wine, that's not the reason to get into wine, because yes, the industry may look sexy, but it's not. It's hard. It's hard. No, I don't taste wine all day. It's very, very difficult, and it's very, very full of a lot of people. What it's not full of is African-American women. So me as a negociant, African-American woman, either that owns a winery, vineyard, or a negociant like myself, there's only 60 of us, 60. 60 of us out of 111,000 people in the world that do this. Yes, so I am beyond a unicorn, beyond a unicorn. For women, it's a very small sector. But I will tell you this, there's so many sides of it you can get into outside of just owning your own wine. We're needed in so many different areas, whether it comes to law. There's so many lawyers I had to go through to even know what I did, to even understand it. So there's law, there's distribution side. I'm a supplier, but there's the distribution side. There's sommeliers. There's not that many women sommeliers. So what I always say is start by taking the WeSet course, right? That's the Wine Spirit Educational Training. What's so awesome right now is you guys can do most of this online, right? Because you really can't go into places or classrooms to do a lot of this. So I want you to look through those courses. What's even better than any opportunity I've ever had is that there's so many grants. There's grants to take these courses. And these courses ain't cheap, guys. So there's so many grants for you guys to learn about wine. See if it's something that's even that you really want to get into it. You may learn in the first course that, okay, this is too complicated. I don't even want to get into this. Actually, when people take the final test for a sommelier, they say it's almost like being a doctor. Like it's this crazy, crazy test. And I've seen the test. So understand that there's so many ways to get into wine that we as women are needed. For men out there, there's plenty of room for everyone. This is a $130 billion industry. So there is room. I just don't want people to always think that this side is the sexy side. It's my passion, but it's not necessarily sexy, all right? So even though Love Corkscrew is kind of cool and sexy, no? Great name, right? So know that there's so many sides of the industry that you guys can get into, and I want you guys to explore everything, all right? So I hope you guys learned a lot, and I hope there's some questions out there. Again, I can't see any questions, so hopefully the hostess will help me out, and I hope you guys had a good time. Don't forget, I believe, and I can't see your screen, my Venmo is on the side. By all means, I always need help, and I appreciate it, and I hope you guys had a good time. If I had more time, you know, I would teach you more. There's so many great things to learn about wine, and wine is forever changing. So there's so much. And I got some great wine cocktails. So maybe next time, if there's a next time, I'll do some wine cocktails and mix up some great drinks. So any questions out there?
Yes, Chrishon, we have a couple about shipping the wines. And this was when you were talking about like heating of the wines and how that can be bad. What about shipping wines? And Jennifer's wondering about, she lives in Arizona. So she was
Yes.
concerned about the heat when shipping.
Yes. So what I normally do, and most wineries do, and vineyards, you'll see that there's certain times that we'll cut off where we don't ship. If it gets really, really hot, and that means on the travel time it gets really hot, we usually tend to wait until it cools off a little bit. So I do ship. I ship to Arizona all the time, but I actually watch when the heat is going to hit. And again, shipping UPS, it's not sitting in a place for a long time. Of course, it's marked fragile as well, and it shouldn't be sitting on your porch because you have to sign for it. So we're usually pretty good. But yes, when Chicago got really hot, I believe it was last year, there was like no shipping of wine leaving the Midwest at all. So we do watch that, so don't worry about it. We as winemakers make sure that we pay attention to the weather and temperature control, and we'll make sure your wine is okay. Now, has stuff happened before? Sure. I remember shipping during Christmas time, and I was shipping to Michigan or Ohio, I believe, and it wasn't known that it was going to be that cold. And I had a few people receive wine, and the cork started pulling out. Now, I told them it's still fine as long as the cork's still halfway in. But yes, there has been things that happen, but I always make sure that I watch temperature control. So you would be just fine. And I'm sorry, was there another question in that?
Yes, Jennifer was also asking, what about bubbles in the wine that should not have bubbles? Would that mean that it's spoiled as well?
So bubbles in the wine, make sure, because that would mean that the wine was not properly finished. So now, make sure that there was not supposed to be bubbles in the wine. And I'll give you an example. So my wine, which is considered still, classified as still, but it has effervescence. Some people were like, oh, wait, did it not finish? Was the process not complete when it came to producing the wine? Yes, it says effervescence. It has bubble. That means my carbonation was artificial. So I added the carbonation, right? So there's this molecular thing that happens sometimes when wine is not complete. So that would cause bubbles. So in that case, yes, the wine is not good. But I would ask, or wherever you purchased it from, either call, go back, switch the wine out, but read the back of the bottle to make sure it wasn't supposed to have some carbonation to it. Sometimes you just don't know. Just because it doesn't have a cork that pops doesn't mean it's not supposed to have effervescence in it. I hope that makes sense.
Great, thank you. And then a couple people have asked, can you just say again where you ship to, what states?
Yes, I ship everywhere minus 4 states. And I believe that's like Rhode Island, Kentucky, Alabama, whatever the states are that you just absolutely cannot. But otherwise, I ship around the whole nation. Lovecorkscrew.com. When you go to the shop section, you'll see a map, and the map will show it's literally only 4 or 5 states that I cannot ship to. But I ship everywhere else in the country. I ship all the time. So you guys can receive Love Corkscrew very easily.
Great. And then also about local Target stores. Are you in a superstore in Florida?
I am not, so I ship. So the only big box stores I'm at are actually in Illinois, and I'm in small stores in Ohio. I am growing. Hopefully I will be in some of the other states as far as stores are concerned sooner than later, most likely second quarter of 2021, fingers crossed. But for now, I ship. And anybody on here, I have a discount code. It's called LOVE. That's simple. Use discount code LOVE, and I'll ship to you guys with no problem. So I ship everywhere in the country outside. But Illinois, that's where I'm in the store.
Okay, great. And then let's see. Are you working on coming to Alabama?
Heck yeah, I'm trying. Alabama's a hard one to get into. So of course I'm working. Hey guys, seriously, no joke. I'm trying to get in every single state. Trust me, I've been 8 years in this. I want to be everywhere. I want to be everywhere Barefoot is and Sutter Home and all those other brands I don't want to name. I want to be everywhere, but this is a very difficult industry. It's very highly regulated, and it's getting distribution deals. So all I ask for everyone as far as it comes to me getting that exposure and being able to be nationwide is spread the word. Let everybody know about Love Corkscrew. Even I always say, if you don't buy not one bottle of Love Corkscrew, spread the word, because that's how I've sold 300,000 bottles. And that's spreading the word about Love Corkscrew. And hopefully I will be in a town near you soon.
And then Donna, is it true the more a wine costs, the better it should taste?
Lies, lies. That's all lies. I'll tell you the best thing. I've trained in Healdsburg with the top sommeliers in the country. And I never forget, the national president of the Sommelier Association said to me, Chrishon, there'll be 99 sommeliers with 100 different answers. No. Price normally means small batch or how it's made. It doesn't mean you're going to like it. A wine is so subjective. It's not even funny. We all like what we like. I even tested out some sommeliers one day and I said, I want you guys to taste 5 wines. Tell me which one is the most expensive and what's one the cheapest. They all got it wrong. So no, that does not necessarily mean it. Are there special ways that it's made? Sure. Is it made most likely in a small batch in a special year? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean you're going to like it. So I want you guys to just know, enjoy it, drink it, and don't overthink it. I need to coin that phrase.
That's yours. We're all witnesses.
Mine.
And what about the old saying of red wine with steak and white or blush with fish?
100% yes. 100% yes. That is the easiest way. Now, of course, when we get into blends and specific varietals where they say, oh, well, this one goes with fish and it could be a red and go on. But the basic rule, keep it that way, or listen to what I said, the ingredients. Look at the back of the bottle. The flavor profile will tell you if it makes sense. Because do I drink red wine with some fishes? Absolutely. If I have a Dover sole or salmon, yeah, I do some red wines. Do I do some white wines with steak? Sure. Why not? There's certain blends that are absolutely amazing. But think about it, and they could be peppery. They can be deep. Yeah, they can be. So you really have to look at the back of the bottle. But yes, that is the basic rule. That's the easiest rule to follow until you get really into the intricate blends. But have fun with it. Have fun.
Okay. And then do you have to have a certain palate to be able to taste the different flavors in the wines?
Yes, and I'll take that a step further. One of the reasons why I have not, I'm telling on myself that I haven't had a lot of time because I own this business, but why I did not go for being a master sommelier was based on the fact that I'm allergic to all nut products. So yes, in tasting, right, certain profiles, right? You have to be very good in tasting certain things. There's certain things that would kill me if I tasted it, right? Eggplant will kill me too. So there's certain things I can't taste in flavor profiles that are stopping my progression in some things. So yes, I will say the simple answer to that is yes. You do have to have a palate and a knack for certain things. I was thinking of the people who, like myself, when I was young, I was a kid, I was the one who was eating sushi as a kid when other kids were like, ugh, raw fish. So you do have to have a special taste bud and also be able to explore all tastes.
Okay, great. And then Sandra asked, she has her intermediate cert with WSET. What
Yes.
would be the next step for her to start her wine brand in New York City?
Your best bet is if you're going to go branding, I need you to take your expertise and I need you to show that. And when I say that, and I say that to everyone that has education way higher than mine, but yet I have a brand that's big, you've got to get out there. You've got to get out there, whether it's expressing some of your expertise on social media, whether it's teaching, whether it's holding virtual classes. Virtual is in right now. We're in this new normal. So I want you to do virtual classes, teach it, make money off of doing that, show your expertise, get out there the best way you can. Yes, it's difficult to get out there to get a job because they're not open. So I want you to show your expertise, grow from that, and really take that and develop a following, because if you have no following, you have no brand. I always talk about it as that mixtape of that great rapper or that great singer that never got out, right? But some of these awful singers and rappers got out because they were seen. It's literally that simple. You can be great, but if you're not seen, you cannot be a brand. Hope that's a quick, easy way of saying it.
Great. And then beyond all of our amazing comments of how wonderful everything was and great tips, and I learned so much, Erica asked, as a Black woman, I'm looking for scholarship opportunities to further my wine education. Can you point me in the direction to start the research?
There's so much. For real, just go to Black Women in Wine grants and you'll find it. Google it. I've seen so many, it's not even funny. Women in Wine grants from organizations, from national wine organizations that are giving grants, to I Fund Women that are giving grants, becoming a WBE and getting grants. There's tons of things out there, new voices that are giving grants. Facebook is giving grants. There's a lot of money out there. It's the google.com. And I'm old and I know how to Google. Google, you will find all those grants and everything you need out there. Trust me, it's there.
Okay, I think we covered them all. So we cannot thank you enough for joining us this afternoon. I think we're all ready for a glass of wine now.
Yay, let's drink. Yay. Thank you all for having me. Love Corkscrew in the House. Please make sure you follow all my social media, and I appreciate it. And much love to everyone. Everyone be safe. If you're here with me, that means you're doing the right thing and you're being socially distanced. I've lost family to COVID, so I know how serious it is. So take care of yourself first, and that way you can take care of others. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Please feel free to
thank you
to say goodbye, ladies.